It's interesting how Doctor Who wrapped up its second season under the Disney umbrella on such a big cliffhanger. You got a Doctor regeneration, theoretically, even though it hasn't officially been named anything like that, and we have heard, well, nothing about its continuation since then, okay? Like Russell T Davies has made a few podcast appearances, and he's done a couple of interviews saying, oh yeah, no, I'm really committed to the future of Doctor Who, but then again, I want to be remembered for my own legacy and the stuff that I create, not being tethered to a franchise. And oh yeah, no, we just have to wait for the BBC, which definitely 100%, they're just waiting for the right time to make the announcement that the series is going to continue. Yeah, for sure. And the only people, because I don't really see too much fan clamor, and in general, nobody's really pining for a continuation of the slop that we have seen over the past few years. And with a spin-off series theoretically coming to the BBC iPlayer sometime soon-ish, there is nothing else on the docket. Nobody's excited for the continuation in the fan base, and the only people that are really pining for its continuation is the people still somewhat attached to this without any other brighter career prospects. Case in point, David Tennant, theoretically still the 15th Doctor thanks to the bi-generation, God, that was so stupid, and Billie Piper, maybe the 16th Doctor. I don't know, man. Angle for a big screen Doctor Who reunion. Yeah, because okay, we don't know if the series is going to continue, but hey, maybe we could get a movie out of it. See? This really does reek of Ewan McGregor whenever he is asked at a panel at a Comic-Con. It's like, okay, what's the future of Obi-Wan? Oh, hey guys, you should really petition Kathleen Kennedy to continue this series because I really want to work on it. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. So there's no real plans. Gotcha. Could the 10th/14th Doctor and Rose Tyler be headed for the silver screen? That was one of the questions asked during LA Comic-Con 2025 when Tennant and Piper reunited once again on stage during the panel. And host Tiffany Babb asked the pair if they could see a Doctor Who movie happening. I'm sure. And if they would return to reprise their roles. Piper didn't hesitate, of course, because I don't think she has much else going on, replying with a firm yes. Tennant added, sure, before the two began to lean into the idea. I always was pitching for that. Where's the film? Piper teased. Tennant echoed her words with, where's the movie? The pair then laughed before Piper declared, oh, it's because the franchise is dead. Oh no, I'm sorry. And we're the ones, right? Okay. Piper reflected on how much she enjoyed seeing Doctor Who on the big screen, pointing to the recent cinema screenings of the series. Yeah, because they put at least the finale of this most recent season on the big screen, but outside of that, man, it's like, I don't really know if anybody's really reaching for a film adaptation of what you guys have in store. But yes, I love to see it when people went to see the last Doctor Who episode in the cinema. I just love that. I would love the Doctor Who experience on the big screen. You're sort of like a film anyways, but yeah, I'd do that, wouldn't you? Well, yeah, of course, because this is kind of sad, right? Because for the first time in a long time, you actually have people that are attached to this project, not Ncuti Gatwa or anything like that, that are really excited about the franchise. It's a shame that it's in the shape that it's in, but you actually have people, unlike several other big sci-fi series, that actually want to continue their story, actually want to reprise their characters, are young enough and able enough to do it. It's just, God, the people that are attached to this who are writing the scripts, you don't want anyone of that ilk close to this. Because honestly, if it's to get continued in any form or fashion with a film or another series, it's going to drastically need to undergo a considerable amount of change, and somebody who is offering some speculation, who has, seen success within the confines of the franchise before. You got a Doctor Who legend, Philip Hinchcliffe, reveals his plan to save the series. Well, let's see what he wants to do here. With Doctor Who's future uncertain and ratings at an all-time low in the latest season, oh, come on now, let's not let facts get in the way of a good story. One of the show's most revered producers has offered his prescription for fixing the Time Lord's troubles. Philip Hinchcliffe, who oversaw some of the series' most beloved episodes in the 70s, believes the answer lies in returning to a longer storytelling formats. Well, that's one thing you could try instead of just these weekly, hey guys, look at all of the straight white men who are bad and how all of the LGBTQ plus AAIP people of color are the good people. All right. Philip Hinchcliffe served as Doctor Who producer from 74 to 77, presiding over what many fans considered the show's creative peak. Working alongside script editor Robert Holmes and starring Tom Baker as the Fourth Doctor, Hinchcliffe delivered classic serials including Seeds of Doom, Pyramids of Mars. That got a continuation at the end of last season, right? You remember Sutek coming back? Boy, that was so smart. The Deadly Assassin and Talons of Wang Qiang. His era became synonymous with sophisticated horror-influenced storytelling that appealed to both the children and adults. Hinchcliffe years established many of Doctor Who's most enduring monsters and concepts while maintaining the perfect balance between science fiction adventure and character development. Speaking at the BFI South Bank event, Hinchcliffe outlined his vision for revitalizing the struggling series. Though he insisted he'd never been asked to return as a creative consultant, I don't know why, he suggested Doctor Who should abandon its current 50-minute episode format in favor of classic 4-part structure. I mean, that would theoretically help if there was somebody in charge who actually had a good and coherent creative vision. That's a very good time for a movie or a television story to be told in 100 minutes, Hinchcliffe explained. That gives you more room to introduce characters, to unravel an inciting event in a story, the mystery, and what's going wrong, and you've just got the time to get those characters to invest emotionally with the characters, and not just the heroes. All the plot reveals and suspense. It doesn't have to be action all the time, but what about crying all the time? Because that's kind of a hallmark of this most recent run of episodes. He continued, to try to tell an interesting story in 50 minutes is very difficult. I don't necessarily agree with that. I would want it to be the length of 100 minutes, because if you're watching something, you want to invest in the supporting characters, not just the Doctor. That I agree with. It gives you room to tell the story, so that would be my main point that I think would benefit it. And hey, man, he had success back in the 70s, and these are still old school, even though, you gotta overlook some of the campy practical effects, and that's, of course, some of the charm of early first-run Doctor Who, to be completely honest. But you know what remains on point? You know what does remain timeless? The storytelling, the script writing, the character work remains on point. So if somebody is offering their insight into this, if this was a series that were to continue, I would listen to this guy for sure. But as somebody who is a little bit closer to the current day production, I mean, they're just kind of echoing what everybody can see from the outside looking in. Doctor Who is as dead as we've ever known it, says a former writer after years of cratering ratings. Yeah, it's not going to continue. We're just waiting for the time when Disney officially pulls their plug on their side of things and figuring out exactly what the BBC wants to do. Do they want to continue with whoever Russell T Davies wants to hand the keys to the castle off to? Do they want to try to salvage something out of this Billie Piper revival? Or, regeneration, or however they're going to do it, because that's just such a convoluted mess in and of itself. They would obviously have a much smaller budget without the Disney money, but they could continue it, as the BBC would prioritize it and definitely value as a valuable mouthpiece for leftist propaganda. But Doctor Who could be a dead show, never to return at the airwaves after a string of creative misses by its two most recent showrunners, Chris Chibnall and Russell T Davies. I mean, yeah, indeed. The Doctor may have survived Dalek, Cybermen, and the end of time itself, but can he survive modern television? Absolutely not. That's why we haven't heard fuck or all about the continuation of this series. And everything wrapped up, oh god, what was that, back in April? And we have heard nothing. A staggering amount of nothing since then. That's the question hanging over the franchise this week after longtime Doctor Who writer Robert Shearman, the man behind beloved 2005 episode Dalek, declared the show as dead as we've ever known it. The remark made during an interview with the Doctor Who magazine sent shockwaves through the fandom, already uneasy about the show's nosediving ratings and uncertain creative direction under Davies. Shearman, who helped relaunch Doctor Who alongside, a pre-cracked Russell T Davies during its triumphant mid-2000s revival under Davies, yes, who has since returned and seemingly destroyed the show he once brought back to the mainstream because he is in fact a bitter old man, didn't mince words. He argued that the series has once again reached a low point reminiscent of the years following its 1989 cancellation, following a run from the Seventh Doctor played by Radagast, Sylvester McCoy. Only worse. Oh yeah, way worse, because there were some redeeming aspects of the McCoy tenure. It's just, you don't find that at all. Like, nobody's even memeing on how bad the Ncuti Gatwa stuff is. Like, it was just trash. It was funny at the time, but it's not even memorable enough to mock. Like, outside of, the one planet that didn't want to go along with a black doctor because they're so racist they would rather die. Like, that's funny, but there's nothing memorable about it. In the Doctor Who magazine interview, he lamented the creative staff stagnation surrounding the show's recent output. Everything that is ever going to be produced in Doctor Who terms is going to feel retrogressive, he said, before going on to argue that the 2025 special, The Reality War, effectively ended things rather than opening new storytelling paths. In a funny way, the closing moments of The Reality War seemed to put a full stop on things, he admitted. We didn't have that before. Okay. For Shearman, this marks a striking contrast with the series' wilderness years after its 1989 cancellation. Back then, Doctor Who survived through books and audio dramas that kept the mythology alive. After 89, we had for years a current Doctor, at least with the new adventures, and then with the BBC books you thought it's a current Doctor, McCoy or McGann. Now he says there isn't even that. Yeah, exactly, because when Billie Piper came back, that's one thing that is still lingering in the minds of many people. She wasn't named as the Doctor. She wasn't even named as anything. And it's like, and welcome back, Billie Piper. Okay, well, what is she going to be? I don't know. All right. No one's going to start writing Doctor Who books with the Billie Piper Doctor, because no one knows what that means, Shearman added, seemingly pointing fingers at Davies' divisive ending to the last series. Exactly. And yeah, if they weren't at a creative roadblock, they're very much at a momentum roadblock, because the ratings, they're ass. There's no two ways about it. This past season, they were on a pretty consistent run of setting lowest ratings of all time after lowest rating of all time. Viewership for Doctor Who has reached historic lows. Earlier this year, episode Lucky Day pulled in just 1.5 million overnight viewers, the smallest audience in the show's 61-year history. Only weeks earlier, the previous episode had been set with a record low of 1.58 million, and your new low point keeps breaking the old low point to just a few weeks later. Something has gone seriously wrong. Yeah, and exactly. And if it wasn't for the AstroTurf, FA Cup final lead-in, yeah, there's a high probability that, Boom would have ended up setting a low water mark, and the penultimate episode of the season was also one of those lowest of all time record setters. This is it's been sad. It was sad back in April. It is even more dire of a situation right now. Like Shearman says, a Doctor Who has never been more dead, and honestly, I think we can all agree with that. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Words are hard sometimes. Take care, everyone.